I caught my brother stealing dirty pics of my fiancé off my phone, and now my parents are taking his side. This whole thing is really fucking with my head. I met my Rachel the first week of college. We were each our first everything pretty much. I actually converted to Judaism because of her, hence the fake name. I'm not really that religious, but I really liked the way her family felt. My family was pretty dysfunctional, and I felt like it gave me a good way of looking at and living life. We're not too serious about it. We don't keep kosher, we're living together, etc. Anyways, she's heart-achingly beautiful. She gets hit on anytime and every time we go out. It used to be a problem. I would get jealous sometimes, but I mainly got over it. And now it kind of makes me feel good in an ego-boosting way. It makes me feel good knowing that people find her attractive, and she finds me attractive. I haven't felt threatened by a guy in a while. Anyways, we go to college in my hometown. My brother Jim recently graduated and asked to come live with me and my girlfriend. I asked if my girlfriend was okay with it. She said yes, so we let him come. My brother is different from me, and even my older brother. He didn't play any sports. Me and my older brother were on the college basketball team until he graduated last year. He's also shorter and a little heavy. I'm 6 feet 5 inches and 178 lbs. My brother is about 5 feet 9 inches and 230 lbs. He asked for help losing weight when he moved in. Honestly, me and my older brother think he's a product of an affair because he's also a lot darker skinned than us. We're all white, but he looks Italian as opposed to Irish like us. He's also a little antisocial, listens to a bunch of metal, screamo, etc., and doesn't seem to have a lot of friends. Everything's fine up he walks in on us. Jim moved in with us in late July. Me and my fiancé have a lot of intimacy. Before he moved in, it was a couple of times a day. Whenever he leaves to go do something, we'll usually take that as a chance. We did something stupid and were in the living room when he got back. I had forgotten that I had given him his own key. I had finally gotten around to having one made. Anyways, he walked in and was staring at us with the widest eyes I've ever seen. My girlfriend notices him first and freaks out. We get dressed quickly, and then we apologize to him. He says it's fine. Thinking back now, it wouldn't be that surprising if he heard us a few times at night or the music we would listen to while we were together. I'm sure the only reason a couple ever plays a Weezer album at night is to have intimacy to it. Anyways, things are fine. A week later, Jim asks me about intimacy texting girls and if I have any advice for him. I've been the go-to for all of the relationship and the intimacy questions. He told me a girl was offering to send pictures. I told him just to never ask for them or pressure the girl into doing it, to never say anything too crass when you compliment her, and to never share them. He asks if I've ever intimacy text, and I told him a couple of times. I figure now that this was him just manipulating me into answering a question for him. 2 days later, he asks to borrow condoms. I tell him I don't have any, and he says, "That's right, you weren't wearing one with Rachel." This freaks me out, and I ask him if he was looking at my penis, and that it's weird that he would look for something like that. He quickly apologizes, says he noticed it when we jumped up when we saw him, and that he didn't look for it. I believed him, went to go get him some at the store. He didn't want to go with me because it would make us look gay, gave him them. Said that the only reason I didn't wear them was because we were both tested and willing to deal with the consequences, and told him if I ever found out he didn't use one, I'd beat the crap out of him. I know. I'm a fucking hypocrite, but I hate them. And my girlfriend says she feels closer to me without them. This isn't the issue. I also offer to take him to get the HPV vaccine. He takes me up and we go do that. 5 days ago, I lose my phone. I'm freaking out, tearing the apartment upside down looking for it. When I go into my brother's room, he jumps out of bed and hides something underneath the cover. Deciding I was going to give him a little shit to make me feel better about losing my phone, reach under the blanket for whatever he was hiding. And there's the fucking phone. I have to travel a lot for basketball, and while I was away, Rachel would send me pictures of her naked and videos of her masturbating. My brother was emailing them to himself, as well as a couple of pictures of her that weren't as risque. Furious, I started shoving him around, but I stopped myself before I did anything too serious. I instantly make him go through his room, and there's one of her bras hidden under his bed with some dirty videos. I then tell him to open his laptop and wait in the living room while I look at it. I wanted to make sure I deleted any and all pictures of Rachel. There weren't any that I could find, so I got on his email and deleted the stuff he sent to himself. I then got on the internet to check his history just to be safe. This is what really shocked the crap out of me. He had gone on some dating hookup forum and had asked for advice getting with his brother's fiancé. A few days later, he said that he had gotten with her and was updating regularly, like some fucking kind of pseudo-blog. He started it when he first moved in and was basing some of it on real life. I'll give a couple of examples. Lol, she looks so miserable when she's with him. I flucked her good when she got done with the fraggot. Lol, flucking her with condoms he bought me. Her chest looked great out of these. That one included a picture of the bra he stole. The rest were images off of Google, close-ups of intimacy. Those were based on the things I described earlier. That morning he promised some pics, the ones he was stealing off my phone. He had already posted pictures of her off of Facebook, including one in a bikini and a few from a website of me and my fiance's friend who makes dresses and sells them. She asked my fiance and a couple of other girls we knew to wear them. On his computer he also had a letter to her asking her to leave me and be with him. It was so bizarre, and apparently he hates me. He insulted me constantly and said that she would be happier with him, and that she was the most beautiful girl in the world to him. I wiped his hard drive to make sure there was nothing else of her, checked his phone, gave him $200 in case I deleted anything with the wipe, got everything he would need for class and threw him out. I told him to go back home, that I was telling Rachel, but I wouldn't say anything to our parents if he didn't make a big deal out of me kicking him out, and to have mom come and get the rest of his things. I also told him if he didn't delete the stuff I would have to tell mom and dad. I checked later to see if he did, and he had. Telling Rachel was difficult. She cried a lot, told me she felt disgusted. We had an honest talk, and we decided that the only way we would be comfortable with him back in our lives is if he stick with therapy for a while, and I sent him a text telling him as much. Rachel blocked him on her phone, social media, etc., and made her Facebook account private. She seemed really uncomfortable for a couple of days. The first day was the worst. She was too freaked out to be alone. I didn't realize this at first, and didn't think much of it when she said she'd wanted to watch me shoot. We did that. And when I drove home to drop her off so I could go by the school to pick up some documents, she asked to come with me. After that, I was going to go play some ball with some of the guys, and she again asks to come to that. I realized what was going on, asked her why she didn't want to go home. Apparently she thought I hadn't taken his key. I told her that night she must have forgot or not heard, and didn't feel safe. I felt sick to my stomach that my kid brother could make her scared in her own home. She talked to her therapist about it the day after that for her weekly appointment. She's getting back to normal now, being her sweet, fun self. We had a pretty good little date night yesterday. I, however, still feel lost about this whole thing. What do I do from here? Our parents don't know, but I told my older brother to ask for advice. I'm so mad about it, and irrationally, I'm jealous of him for getting to see her in a way only I ever have. I feel like he stole that from me and her. I also feel bad about what I perceive to be a loss of all love towards him. I don't feel like I care what about him at all anymore. I'm considering going to a therapist about this stuff, but I'm not sure about it. I went to one when I was younger, and I just couldn't communicate. It could end up being an expensive waste of time. I also don't know how I tell my parents he's not welcome at our wedding this winter, and that we wouldn't be coming to family dinners anymore, since I told him I wouldn't tell them if he didn't make a scene about me kicking him out. I'd really appreciate some advice perspective on this whole thing. Edit, I forgot to say this, but I took screenshots of the blog to be safe. If he lies to my parents, I have evidence of everything. Edit 2, me and my fiancé are going to meet with my parents tonight to discuss. Thanks for the advice, I'll take all of it into consideration, and it felt pretty good getting it off my chest like this. Edit 3, just woke up, gonna answer some questions because it's driving me insane if I don't really fast. Gonna update when I have time to. Update next day. I had a typo in the original title. My fiancé and I have been together for 3 years, not 2. My parents aren't going to be coming to our wedding. Rachel and I went to meet my parents at their house. Jim was brought to my uncle's house while we were over. I told them that I had to tell them why Jim wasn't staying with us anymore. They told me that they knew, and that Jim had told them everything. When they said everything, I was doubtful at first, but Jim really had told them everything. I had printed out the draft of the email I was going to send them, and they confirmed he admitted to everything. He had asked for help. I was stunned. He's already started therapy, he's going twice a week. Anyways, this whole time they were extremely kind to Rachel. They apologized for raising someone that could do these horrible things. I figure this is as good a time as any to make sure it's clear he can't come to our wedding. My mom instantly starts freaking out about this. She says how she wants our whole family there, that we'll regret not having him there for the rest of our lives. I tell her that he still makes Rachel uncomfortable, threatened even, and my mom asks if it's true, and Rachel says yes. They say that they won't be there without him, and that even though they'll still love me and support us, they wanted to support Jim too. My parents' original plan, in conjunction with Jim's therapist, was for him to meet us once a month for an hour if we were open to it. I tell them that that's not happening. Rachel wasn't okay with it, but I agreed to meet him alone. Rachel said that was fine. When I got home, I made sure. I sent Jim a text laying down some ground rules. 1, we would meet somewhere public. 2, if he said anything inappropriate, I would leave. 3, no lying. 4, absolutely no contacting Rachel. I also told him that I'd only give him one more shot, that he had honestly lost my love and would have to work to regain it, that he would likely never have an actual conversation with Rachel again, that I wouldn't ever forget what he did but could maybe move past it, and that there weren't any guarantees. He sent me a text saying, I understand, I'm so sorry. My parents wanted me to talk to him this Sunday, also my birthday. I told them I wasn't prepared to do that, I'm still pretty angry, and that I wouldn't start seeing him monthly until next year after the wedding. I don't know if I expect him to be genuinely trying to be a better person. I'm not counting on it. At least this way, if he screws up, my parents won't have an excuse to pick him over me. Also, if he does screw up before next year, I'll know that he wasn't sincere. Once we got back home, I asked my fiancé if she was okay with this course of action. She said she liked it. I once again asked if she wanted to involve the authorities, but she said she didn't want to. She's been adamant about it this whole time. She was a little upset about my parents not being there, but I calmed her down and we went to bed. I feel great right now, knowing what's going to happen. I guess I'm not that upset about my parents not going. They did tell me that they still loved me, and our wedding is going to be pretty small and intimate. My older brother's coming back into the country for it. That's all I really cared about, and he said he'd be there no matter what. We're actually going to spend a year with him overseas after we graduate. We're not having a traditional honeymoon. As for the intimacy texting advice that came up in the comments, Rachel and I had our first real conversation about it. We downloaded KeepSafe. We also decided to go to Best Buy tonight and get a camcorder, so thanks for that. Probably wouldn't have happened if we didn't have this conversation. I just want to say thanks to everyone who gave me advice. I really took everything into consideration. Relevant comments. Wow, the fact that they're siding with him on your wedding is crazy. Everything else seems pretty okay, but they're basically punishing you for his bad behavior. Oop. Yeah, it kinda sucks, but we're having a really small ceremony and reception at my fiance's parents' house, so it'll free up some room. Best case scenario, some of my cousins who I don't know also don't show up.